nice touch, isn't it? A little heart. Olive, one of the other COVID nurses, brought a pile of these bags in. There's a woman on her road who's been making them for the NHS. She's in that Facebook group, For the Love of Scrubs, I think it's called. I think it's made out of an old curtain. Make do and mend, as they say. Anyway, I put all my scrubs and everything in here at the end of the day, and then it all just gets emptied out into the machine with the bag as well. Oh, do you know, I'm shattered. I've been on earlies this week. That's better for me, really. Then I get a bit of time at the back end of the day, you know, before Paul gets back. He's worked right through lockdown as well. My mum always goes on about getting an early start. Oh, Teresa, by the time you've floated down the stairs, half the day is wasted. She's never wasted any time as far as I can see. Still doesn't, and she's 90. It drives my sister mad. Well, she lives with her. Oh. Things have eased up a bit on the unit now. Oh, intensive care. It was intense for a while. But keep calm and carry on, as they say. We've all looked after each other. Well, you have to, otherwise you wouldn't get through a crisis like this. I tell you what, it's bloody hot in all that PPE. And that was an issue at the start. I mean, the stuff the government got, it wasn't even worth touching. Out of date, straps falling off. Oh, it's just poor quality. It was all lies, what they told us, propaganda. We're all in this together. I don't think so, Dominic Cummings. Anyway, Selma, in infection control, she got us the proper stuff. She lived and breathed it for weeks. I think it was from Sweden in the end. She had to spend millions. I said to her recently, what was your budget? She said I didn't have one. Oh. I think some of the younger staff have found it more difficult to cope. I don't know. Maybe we were just brought up differently. I mean, don't get me wrong, I found it hard, really hard at times. But people my age, we were brought up to be pretty tough somehow. Maybe it was those wartime parents. We used to be playing out all day, God knows where. I mean, we used to play on an old bomb site and a concrete skip full of cardboard boxes behind the supermarket. Social services would be called in these days. Maybe it's to do with doing your duty. Sounds old-fashioned to talk about that these days, but keeping going even though there's a risk. It's got to be a sense of duty, hasn't it? Something bigger than yourself, like being in the trenches and going over the top, I suppose. And it's like a friend of mine at work said, when your number's up, your number's up. Anyway, my mum would have been horrified if I'd gone off with stress because of COVID. Oh, and what would have happened to the 6 of you if I'd gone off with the stress? There's no time for stress. I wouldn't have blamed my mum if she had gone off with stress in the 1970s. The doctor would have signed her off these days. The IRA pub bombings in Birmingham. My mum got sent to Coventry. You know, her workmates stopped speaking to her. People she'd worked with for 20 years doing a night cleaning job at Lucas's. My dad got spat at in the street. There they were, keeping going, not giving up, doing the duty. When I think about it now, I mean, my dad helped build Spaghetti Junction, for God's sake. And that gave him the shakes in the end. He said it was the pneumatic drill. I mean, his dad, my granddad, fought for the British in the Second World War, like thousands of Irishmen did, even though the Republic of Ireland was neutral. My mum only told me recently that when they got back, some people treated them like they were traitors for fighting with the British. Well, you can understand it when you think about what the British had done to them for centuries. But my mum said that, well, let's just say my dad's family had a hard time when he was growing up. So, when he heard there were lots of jobs going here, rebuilding and that, he was determined to come. Start again. Mind you, it was a tough start here. Until I was 8, we lived in a back-to-back in Small Heath. You know, a 2 up, 2 down, with 6 kids. Don't let anybody tell you that poverty's... I remember us hiding from the rent collector when we lived there. And the old woman next door used to mimic the sign of the cross when she saw us. My job was to empty the pot, you know, that we'd all used in the night in the privy out the back. God knows how my mum coped. But we were always well turned out. Anyway, after that, we got a council house in Sparkbrook with an inside toilet and bathroom, thank you very much. And a bit more space, so all of us 6 kids didn't have to share the same bedroom. Part of the council house building after the war, I suppose. And we had our community. Church, the pub of course, Irish dancing, and watching the hurling. We had some good times. A few of my mum's sisters came over from Ireland to train as nurses in the new NHS. Apparently, my daughter told me that more women than men came over after the war. Yeah, which she teaches at the university, history, so she's interested in all that. Oh, my mum's that proud of her. She'll tell anyone who'll listen about her. I miss my dad. There's lots of things I'd like to ask him about, but it's too late now. I remember when we used to be out and about when I was a kid. He'd stop and he'd go, "Your Uncle Pat built that. And me and my cousin Mick worked on that." I used to roll my eyes because I was embarrassed. Mum will talk about things sometimes, but mostly I get, "Oh, Teresa, it's in the past where it belongs. There's no point in raking it all up now." Paul's mum doesn't say much either about anything. I mean, she lived through Birmingham being bombed to bits in the war. But I suppose going through all this with COVID, I sort of understand them not talking. I mean, when all this is over, we'll just want to move on, won't we? Get our normal lives back. Not spend years dissecting it all. Maybe that's all our parents' generation wanted. An ordinary, quiet life. I suppose a lot of things happened because of the Second World War. the end of the British Empire, the Cold War, Russia and America piling up nuclear weapons, and us all worrying about Armageddon. When the Cold War melted away and the Berlin Wall came down, it felt like something had lifted off me. Tension maybe, or fear. It's funny, isn't it, how sometimes you don't realise a feeling was there till it's gone. My brother Sean, he's the oldest of the six of us, he was always interested in all that, politics. When he grew up, he used to disappear for days on end, sofa surfing. Mum and Dad used to really worry, about what he was getting involved with, because the troubles had started already by then in Northern Ireland. I mean, you can understand it when you think about the Irish people here who got wrongfully convicted of things. But now I think Sean was right about a lot of things. He wasn't going to accept anything, and he was going to rake things up. He knew where he came from, and he was going to change things, challenge them. I suppose there's always been lots of national crises of one sort or another. Not just wars, but, flu pandemics, the winter of discontent, remember that? And the banks going bust. But when something's over, it just seems to slip away, doesn't it? Maybe we just need to forget about some things to survive, or tuck them away until it's safe to look. Anyway, as my mum says, you've just got to keep going, Teresa. That's what we did, and that's what you've got to do. Show the next lot. They don't realise they need to learn that from you, but they do. So I better get on, hadn't I? Make the tea, clean my inside bathroom, keep calm and carry on. Of course, that's a con, keep calm and carry on. A bit of nostalgia sold to us all after a poster saying it was found in a bookshop about 20 years ago. When that poster was first put up at the start of the war in 1939, people didn't go along with it. They didn't accept it. Like us, maybe some of them realised that we aren't all in this together.